The sound of laughter echoed through the police station, almost too loud for a late-night shift. Officers leaned against their desks, scrolling through their phones, exchanging jokes and passing the time. It was one of those slow nights where nothing seemed likely to happen. No major cases, no urgent calls, just another evening spent in routine. But there was one member of the team that wasn't in on the joke: the K-9 unit. In the corner, the dog sat silently beside his handler. His name was Rex, a seasoned German shepherd with years of service. His fur was graying at the edges, and his movements had slowed with age, but his instincts were as sharp as ever. Yet to the rest of the officers, Rex was just a dog, a tool that had outlived its usefulness. They didn't understand him the way his handler did. They didn't see the warning in his eyes, or the focus in his stillness. They only saw a dog who didn't bark as much, didn't move as fast, and didn't seem as exciting as the rest of the department. To them, Rex was a relic. "Hey, look at Rex over there," Officer Thompson chuckled, nudging his partner. "He's so quiet he's probably just waiting to retire already. Guess he's given up on doing anything useful." The others joined in the laughter, unaware that Rex was hearing every word. The handler, Officer Daniels, shot a glance at Rex, but the dog remained focused, watching the officers. There was no tension in his body, just patience. The handler had long known that when Rex was silent, it meant something was off, but the officers didn't share that belief. Minutes passed, the laughter fading into the hum of the station's fluorescent lights. Just as the group settled back into their routine, a radio crackled, breaking the monotony. A call came through. A nearby convenience store had just been robbed. The suspect was armed and on the run, last seen heading into an industrial park on the outskirts of town. It wasn't an extraordinary call, but it was enough to break the routine. The officers grabbed their gear and piled into their vehicles, Rex included. The handler hesitated for just a moment, sensing the same unease that had crept in earlier, but he didn't voice it. They would follow procedure. They would find the suspect. Simple as that. As they arrived at the industrial park, the team spread out, searching for the suspect. The lights from their vehicles cut through the darkness, casting long shadows across the parking lots and alleys. Officers moved with the calm efficiency of a well-rehearsed routine. But Rex wasn't walking like he usually did. The dog was on edge, his body tense as he sniffed the air, scanning every corner, every shadow. He wasn't following the handler's typical commands, his leash tight in protest. Rex pulled forward, his nose to the ground, his growl barely audible. "Come on, Rex, focus," Officer Daniels whispered, but the dog refused to be calmed. Something was wrong, and Rex knew it before anyone else. "I don't know what's up with him," Officer Thompson remarked from a distance. "He's just a dog. I've been on these kinds of calls hundreds of times. Nothing special." The handler was about to say something, but paused. Rex's focus was so intense that it sent a shiver down his spine. For a moment, everything else seemed to fade, and the hairs on the back of Officer Daniels' neck stood up. Something wasn't right. Without warning, Rex lunged forward, breaking from the handler's side and charging into a shadowed alley between two warehouses. "Rex!" Officer Daniels shouted, rushing after him. But before he could catch up, a loud gunshot rang out, echoing in the night. The team froze. It came from deeper in the alley. "Get down! Move in!" Officer Daniels barked. The officers quickly formed a perimeter, moving cautiously toward the sound. The tension was palpable now. Rex was the only one moving forward, his body low, ears forward, his growl a constant hum. The officers followed his lead, realizing too late that the K-9 had been the only one who sensed the threat. As they turned the corner, they saw the suspect, armed and crouching near the edge of a dumpster, his back to the wall, ready to fight. "Drop the weapon!" Officer Daniels shouted. The suspect didn't listen. Rex, charged. In one fluid motion, the dog launched himself at the suspect, knocking the weapon from his hand before the man could even react. Rex's teeth sank into the suspect's arm, pulling him to the ground, keeping him pinned until the officers moved in to secure him. The suspect struggled, but Rex held his ground, the dog's training and instinct keeping him firm. For the first time that night, the officers didn't laugh, they didn't make jokes, they didn't call Rex useless, they didn't have time for that. They had just witnessed the power of what they had dismissed only hours before. The suspect was arrested and taken into custody. Officers checked for injuries, their hands shaking slightly. The adrenaline was wearing off, but the full realization of what had just happened hit them like a wave. "If it wasn't for him," Officer Thompson said, trailing off, his voice thick with regret. "No," Officer Daniels said, shaking his head. "It wasn't just him. It was the dog's instincts, his ability to read the situation. Rex was always ready." The officers stood in silence, the sounds of sirens and the flashing lights the only thing breaking the quiet. They had underestimated Rex, laughed at him, thought he was too old or too slow. But in that moment, Rex had proven that experience didn't always come from age or speed. Sometimes it came from knowing exactly when to act, when to listen, and when to trust your instincts. The officers gathered around Rex, who was sitting calmly by his handler's side. His tail wagged slightly, as if he understood everything that had just unfolded. He had saved their lives, and without a word, he went back to his quiet, alert stance. Back at the station, the mood was different. No one laughed. No one made fun of Rex anymore. The officers gathered in the break room, staring at the K-9 unit, sitting quietly by his handler, and there was a newfound respect in the air. Officer Thompson approached Rex, holding out his hand. "I was wrong, Rex. I'm sorry." The dog stood and walked toward him, sniffing his hand. It wasn't forgiveness, it was understanding. Officer Daniels smiled, a proud look on his face. "He's always been more than just a dog. He's family." From that day forward, the officers never underestimated Rex again. They learned that a K-9's instincts could save lives in ways that technology, training, or even experience couldn't predict. And from that moment, the respect they showed Rex wasn't just out of duty, it was because they knew the dog had earned it, not just through obedience, but through proving his worth when it mattered most. Rex had done more than just perform a job. He had saved every officer that night, and he had done it without hesitation, without need for recognition. And for the officers who had once called him useless, that lesson would stay with them for the rest of their careers.